Experience work interactions in a different and refreshing light. This is the Leader in You podcast, brought to you by EMC Leaders, taking care of the teams you care about. We bring the science of attachment and emotional connection with insight from the last 20 years to share how you can overcome conflict issues at work and build strong team relationships, as well as the connected culture.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Leader in You podcast. My name is Polina, and I'm so excited to be here with the amazing Dr. Lola Gershfeld.
Hi, Polina. So nice to be here. And hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast.
Well, Dr. Lola also happens to be my mom, if you didn't know already. And we are back for another wonderful episode. Today, we're talking about probably something almost everyone struggles with, and that is keeping focus in stressful situations. I think it's already difficult to keep focus in general, in life, at work, whatever it is that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. But in particularly, it gets very challenging for us to keep focus during stressful situations. So we're going to talk about that today. We have some great tools and tips and insights on how you can stay focused. And if you aren't able to like really define your focus, it's going to be hard to find your focus in those moments. So let's get to it. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, well, definitely there's so much to say about keeping focus, but most managers are not really trained in how to have the focus when they are dealing with situations that are difficult, the difficult conversations where they feel stress, when they feel stress from team members. And if you are thinking about, wishing you have focus, this is definitely the podcast to listen to. And what I like about, because our process is based on attachment theory, and what I like about attachment theory is it really gives us a solid ground on how to find that focus and how to keep that focused, and that helps us to get to the heart of the matter. So the first thing is what attachment teaches us is to really listen to the message behind the words. So for example, if you see reactivity, there's definitely vulnerability behind that. So if you have a team member who is maybe feeling angry, well, underneath, they could feel hurt. And if you have team members that become defensive, they're probably feeling fear of not getting things right. So when you're dealing with a stressful situation, having the right focus will help you to lead the team to connection instead of getting stuck in content and trying to take sides, which actually throws you off balance and ending up getting the team further in disconnection.
Well, wait, let's refocus on what you're trying to say. So I think there's a few different ways we can take this approach when it comes to understanding what it means when we actually say keeping the focus, because you can be focused in the conversation during a stressful situation, but it's where that focus is, like where is the primary attention during that situation, during that conflict. So, for example, if you are focusing on what Dr. Lola said, which is like the content, and what does exactly even that means? Like a lot of times we think when we have conflicts, we need to resolve the problem and we need to talk about who said what, who did what, whose fault it is, what's exactly happened in the situation. And that would be considered focusing on the content of the problem. And yet, in this process, we have a completely different focus. So it's more about keeping focus on what's really important in situations, which is the underlying meaning and the emotional experience that people have that could be a hidden message. So, like Dr. Lola was saying, well, like if you look at the reaction, right? So, if someone is, let's say, defending themselves, that is considered a reaction. But if we focus on the reaction of that person's defense, then that is what becomes like almost like we're getting thrown off the actual focus, which is what we should be doing, is focusing on what the underlying hidden emotion that is motivating that action, that reaction to come out. There's so many words here. I'm getting confused just speaking about it all over again. I wish we had like a whiteboard. We pull up the whiteboard. I have a whiteboard actually. And then we can draw what happens, right? So like if let's say you think about it like you're in an elevator and the first floor, the 10th floor is the content or the context, I like to say, like of the situation. So who did what? This person, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that person didn't send the email. That person's not responding. Like that person made a mistake, made an error, sent it out wrong. So that's the content. If you go down to the floor nine, then you start to uncover, well, what was the reactions? Then you go down to floor 8 and we get to like the deeper stuff, which is what are the triggers? Like what specifically happened that caused the triggers? And then you go down to floor 6 and you start uncovering the feelings and the raw spots behind that. And then you get all the way down to floor 1. There's a couple floors in between there because there's a lot of emotion. And you get down to floor 1, and floor 1 is like, oh, wait a second. What was your fears? What was the emotion that motivated you to then have this specific reaction? And that's why we say, like, that's a deep conversation. You probably heard, like, oh, emotions are so deep. Like, we have this such deep emotional conversations. Well, that's why, because you're pretty much going from the 10th floor, which is the content, all the way down to the first floor, which is your emotions. So we know that you stay focused in stressful situations because everybody has to. It's that a decision making process that we have to go through, like fight or flight, or what are we attacking? Are we withdrawing? But what we want to do is take that focus and instead of keeping it on the problem, the content, and trying to fix something, we want to shift it to understanding the emotions that are underneath that content. So let's take that focus and keep it on the emotional experience of that person.
Yes, it's so well said. I love your explanation. You did a great job. And this is what we do in stage 1 of the EMC process. We're really trying to get people to understand how they impact each other. Because as you talked about, what are the triggers and what are the sensitivities? What are the raw spots? What are the emotions? All of that is what we are trying to understand. How do we impact each other? So you are not taking sides, but you're really giving that space, that safe space for people to really share the experience without becoming defensive or without the other person trying to explain why they shouldn't feel this way. Just really holding that space. And I think that is so, so important for people to know. How do I impact you? How do you impact me? All of that are valid.
So, what would be an example of a way that someone can, let's say they get into a stressful situation and they focus, which they're probably very used to focusing on the content, and the problem of the situation as opposed to shifting down into the emotions. How do you shift that focus the moment that the stressful situation occurs?
Well, let me give you this example. And I was just doing a training session for a group of trainers, and they are international organization. And they have about 2,000 employees, and they were getting ready for a government assessment, like approval for additional courses that they want to teach. And so one of the people who are in the training, he's a manager of this training division. And so he said that for this approval to happen, like a lot of teams and a lot of people have to complete their process, They have to set up the workshop, they have to set up the training materials, they have to set up the equipment and prepare everybody to really demonstrate to the government that their courses are follow the protocol that the government is expecting. So
Mm,
unfortunately, one of the team members did not complete their task. And from the principal's perspective, this person, she felt that he didn't take the task seriously. And
mm,
so they paid the government official to come to do the assessment, the approval. And on the day of the assessment, the principal, who was the manager of this team, she came in the morning and she realized that one of the department was not prepared, and she became very stressed. So
mm,
she got very angry, and there were exchange of words that really hurt the staff member. And so when the manager of the whole division, I'll call him Emmanuel. Emmanuel saw the manager and the staffer, they couldn't talk to each other. They didn't even want to look at each other. There was so much
mm,
tension
mm-hmm.
and really hurt feelings in between. So it
Yeah.
was very uncomfortable situation. So, and as he listened to the story, he felt that he was getting also upset, like money has been lost. They have to
Yeah.
repeat the process again. Time has been lost. And he just was getting frustrated, but he remembered to keep his focus on the process, right? On the process, what's going on with them emotionally. So he
Mm-hmm.
sat down with them and he asked them the question, how, right? Because how did it impact you? What
Yeah.
happened in that moment? What was going on? And so each person started to share what was happening. Like the principal, she said, like, I was very frustrated. I wanted to prepare everything because that's part of my performance. And the
Mm-hmm.
staffer says, well, because of the timeline, I felt very overwhelmed, he said. And he felt confused. He felt pressured. He felt exhausted. He also felt like frozen and numb. And he couldn't really understand the instructions very well. And the manager was not really available to explain to him. So he felt very isolated and alone. So as
Yeah.
the division director was listening to both of them, he was really focusing on how they felt. And through that process, what he noticed that each person became more relaxed.
So what would be an example? Like what is an example of that? How did he focus on the feelings? Like what is the thing that he did? What did he
He
do? So
just
for our
slowed it down.
listeners,
Yeah,
I think that's the problem is like our listeners this is so new. Even when I first started learning this, oh, okay, I just have to be open to understanding or hearing, feeling. What does that exactly mean? So how do we give them that tool? What is slowing down? What did he say? What did he do?
well, first of all, he was balancing himself. He didn't take any sides. He didn't try to fix the problem. That's number one. He really just made the space and said, what was going on for you before this happened? When did you
Mm,
started to feel, isolated and alone? Or what was going on for you? And so as the staff person was sharing how overwhelmed he felt, he also started to relate to his worry. Like he was really worried about this and he didn't know how to share. So he became more empathic. He started to relax his own body and understand what was going on for the staffer. That makes
hmm.
sense. So he was really asking questions about the feelings, about the emotions, what was happening. And he was also reflecting back what was his feeling. So he could really understand, he could give this message to the staffer that he really hears him, how difficult that was for him.
Hmm.
Okay.
So you mean asking those specific questions.
Yes.
And
And
just want to
also
reiterate and get,
reflecting,
yeah,
reflecting.
reflecting. So
Mhm.
what that means. So those of you who are listening who are new to understanding how this process works, what Dr. Lola is saying is we need to ask the questions that allow the person who's involved in the stressful situation to stay in their emotions. So, some examples of things that you can say, and if you have a pen and paper next to you, you could write these down. Or if you would like to get our tools and take our master class, of course, we teach all of this in an in-depth perspective and view and a step-by-step process and training all on the EMC website. So you can go to emcleaders.com for that information. So we want to ask these questions. Number one, we want to ask, how was it for you? What happened with you prior to the stressful situation occurring? How was it for you? How does it feel? Do you feel it physically anywhere in your body? Is there sensations that are coming up? Maybe you feel it in your stomach. Those physical, like bringing the attention to the physical body is also very good to help de-escalate and bring awareness to what's going on. And also staying with the feelings of the person that is the most stressed, I think, in the stressful situation is important. So you can ask them and help support them for them to figure out what's happening. Right? Is that what you're
Right, right,
saying?
exactly. Yes. And also, I think we actually have to also understand the triggers, right? What triggered them to feel that way. So it's because it's always relational. We are looking and focusing on how people impact each other in that moment. What is happening for them? So even if they don't have the list, like we provide the list of raw spots and emotions, even they don't have the list, they can really focus. Is that the tone of voice? Is it the words they said? Is it the body language, the facial expression? Because this is very important for people to know how they impact each other, and also to understand their sensitivities. And as the staffer was actually sharing his vulnerable feelings, the manager became more, the principal became also relaxed because she started to recognize that she wasn't giving him clear instructions to the fact that he was able to do it himself. So everything became a lot more relaxed when
Hmm.
the staffer started to share his vulnerable emotions, and also the principal started to share her vulnerable emotions, and how scary she was that she wasn't able to provide this approval for the company to do it. So as they continue to explore and share each other's vulnerability, they started to see how much they care about the role. So it wasn't because he didn't do the job because he didn't care, it because he didn't do the job because he got overwhelmed. So as a result,
So I think this is just proof. I think that what happens is the end result of this is to just make sure you have the EMC form handy. Because I think it's challenging if you didn't yet do our course or our training program and you're not well versed in this language. It's so easy to slip back into what everyone teaches us and what we learn in society, which is to go straight into the content or trying to fix the problem, as opposed to shifting our focus to the emotional experience that each person is having in the conflict. So I love the form for that reason too, because it keeps you focused, right? If you just pull out the form in order to help you regulate what's going on with you and also help regulate the people involved in the situation, you can just take it step by step, slow it down, and have them each respond to the questions on the form, and then help really identify clearly what was happening with them in the experience. I think the very important thing to remember here is when we keep focus on the problem, we don't address the emotions, the problem actually never gets solved because emotions are so much of who we are and how we function as humans. So if we don't address the emotions, then the problem, those patterns with those same situations will repeat over and over and over again. The problem, but what we want to do is to shift our focus to the emotion so that we can resolve and reconnect on an emotional level. And then the problem will actually either work itself out or it will be so much easier to solve. And 99.9% of the time, the problem doesn't come up again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what actually happened. The director, when he led this conversation and just slowed it down and helped them to share, the manager, the principal, became more regretful that she was so concerned about the money than being concerned about her staffer not, feeling overwhelmed. And so when she also showed regret, the staffer felt cared for, the staffer felt valued, and they were able to work out the timeline. They were able to create the progress. And what was interesting about it is, as this director shared his experience, the other team members that, his peers are listening to it, and they said, "Wow, we are so proud of you that you were able to slow things down, that you were able to keep your focus in this very practical way to get to the heart of the matter." Because in every situation, when the director is reactive and takes sides and gets lost and there's a more disconnection, peers feel like they lose that also person. They lose the connection with that person. So as he was sharing his success, so to speak, of keeping the focus on emotional connection, they felt so happy for him, and they said that usually you get angry when your managers or your division gets like this, and we lose you. But
Mhm.
we want to just give you a high five because you did so well. You did so great on keeping the, and it also inspires them because he said and I asked him, how does it make you feel as your peers share how happy they are? And he said, "Oh, it gives me a lot of reassurance and confidence. I feel so good. I feel so optimistic, and I feel so happy that my peers feel pride, feel proud of me."
That's so that's so amazing. I love it. And I think that it's like, it's just good to get reassurance that if you are feeling like your issues at your work and your issues that you have with your relationships just like never get resolved and are happening over and over and over again, just remember our words. It's because the focus on dealing with the situation is on the wrong thing. The focus is on the content, the context of the issue. But we want to do is we want to shift the focus to the emotional experience that each person is having. And that will give you really reassurance and validity that you're not alone in feeling that way and that there is a way, there's a path, there's a process, there's a form that you can use. And there's people like us that can help support you in learning how to communicate in a way that helps you feel connected, heard, validated, and understood.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
Yes, I love it too. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I want to say that an interesting quote I heard, this George Fowler, who does emotionally
Mhm.
focused approach, he uses a term called COCO. Okay, and COCO means we co-regulate each other's emotions and we also co-create the meaning. And I like that to just end
Mm.
with this podcast is because we are co-creators of our meaning and we are co-regulators of each other's emotions when we work together. And I feel like keeping focus on that relational aspect of keeping it relational, vulnerability, and creating this process is helping us to co-create and co-regulate.
That deserves a standing ovation, Dr.
Oh,
Lola.
oh, thank you, Polina. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for watching or listening. Remember, if you're just listening to our podcast, we are also on YouTube and you can watch us the entire video and all of our wonderful and lovely facial expressions as well. Remember to go to emcleaders.com for more information on the course that will literally change your life and the dynamic and the culture of your company. My name is Polina, and I'm here with Dr. Lola Gershfeld, and we are the Leader in You podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Oh, it's also my
Bye.
birthday this Friday.
Oh, that's right. It's your birthday this Friday. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's a joy to share these podcasts with you. Be sure to check out our previous podcasts and subscribe to join us at our next podcast of The Leader in You, brought to you by EMC Leaders, taking care of the teams you care about. Until then, be well and be focused on your relationships. We'll see you soon.